Wow, did they really put that in the game? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 jump the shark moments in video games.
When fire burns, is it at war? Is it in conflict? Or is it simply doing what it was created to do?
For this list, we cast our eye over the video game moments that signaled a massive departure from the franchise, or were so bizarre and over the top that there was no way that sequels would ever be able to top or recover from that defining moment.
Let's get to business, Wrinklebag.
Number 10, fighting Spider-Man and Batman. The Revenge of Shinobi? Huh? The whole series of Shinobi side-scrolling games are well known for pitting you against a variety of bizarre enemies, as is par for the course for ninja-themed games, actually. The second installment, however, goes all-out baddie by including a mixed bag of cultural icons. Rambo and Godzilla really have no business existing in the same universe, but that's nothing compared to the most baffling Marvel-DC crossover ever. First, you may just think you're battling the web-slinger once, but after you land a few hits, Spider-Man transforms into Batman. We don't know about you, but we really didn't know how to feel about this. Number 9, It's All a Game, Star Ocean Till the End of Time.
The Eternal Sphere is a universe inside a simulator. Earth is one of the planets inside that universe.
The third entry to the main Star Ocean series of futuristic action RPGs pulled the video game equivalent of one of the cheapest plot devices seen in film or TV, the "it was all a dream" twist. This time it transpires that everything you have done and all the lore you have learned is nothing more than a video game called the Eternal Sphere, and everyone in the universe are characters within that game.
We're just characters living inside a simulator?
Not only does this undermine all the events in the series prior to this, but it almost completely ruined it, as later entries in the Star Ocean series all take place before the end of time.
Now that I don't understand either.
Number 8, Lara Dies, Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Not only was The Last Revelation a mediocre game in its own right, it also included the fake death of Croft, a move that would doom the franchise until the change of developers in 2006. If the series had ended there, Lara's death would have worked, but her resurrection for Angel of Darkness wasn't ever really explained, adding to the long list of issues with the game.
Eat it, Werner. You walked away and left me.
Desperate for ideas, the developers even wedged in a flashback-driven game between The Last Revelation and Angel of Darkness, but it only served to prove that they were well short of original concepts for the British archaeologist.
Take my hand. I can pull you to safety.
Good to see you again, Werner.
I couldn't leave you!
Number 7, The Airport Massacre, Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 2.
Remember, no Russian.
For many people on the sidelines, this controversial scene from the massive FPS series was an example of how video games had gone too far. But for more discerning gamers like us, it was more like the moment that Infinity Ward left themselves with nowhere to go for shock value. Sure, they did a good job of topping Modern Warfare 1's most shocking scenes, but this is probably the moment where the story in Call of Duty really started to fall apart. Crazy, super violent stuff sure would follow in later games, but thanks to Modern Warfare 2, our eyes had long glazed over from desensitization.
We sent a strong message with this attack, Makarov.
That was no message. This is a message.
Number 6, The Star Child, Mass Effect 3.
I was created to bring balance, to be the catalyst for peace between organics and synthetics.
Never has an ending to a game caused so much controversy. Despite the critical and commercial success of all the titles in the third-person shooter series, the Catalyst is single-handedly responsible for tarnishing everything that went before it.
When they asked that I solve the problem of conflict, they failed to understand they were part of the problem themselves.
Apparently, this random AI has been controlling the Reapers all along as they carry out the cyclical genocide of the most advanced organic races in the galaxy. But every choice you are given to end the cycle feels so out of keeping with the narrative. The organic-synthetic conflict feels so forced, and how on earth can mass genocide ever be the best option? Nothing about it sits right at all.
The paths are open, but you have to choose.
Number 5, A Dragon? True Crime, Streets of LA.
Hey! Somebody call animal control!
One minute you're frisking down suspects for drugs, and the next you're fighting flaming floating heads and a damn dragon. In a gritty open world game called True Crime, this removal of reality could not have been less welcome. They might have been trying to distance themselves from the comparisons to GTA, but it's so misguided that it takes away from the largely compelling story.
That is what Big Chong had convinced me of.
There are plenty of other games with ancient mythological figures and zombies, so we really don't need them in a hard-hitting police adventure. It's really no wonder that the franchise died after just one more sequel.
What the? Man, I'm getting too old for this.
Number 4, The Ridley Freakout, Metroid Other M. Of all the sins that the story of the latest Metroid committed, it's the treatment of Samus that is perhaps the most heinous. Upon confronting her archenemy Ridley, Samus suddenly has a PTSD breakdown and is completely unable to fight.
Samus! Samus, use your plasma beam! What's your status?
Had this been the first time Samus confronted Ridley, since he did kill her parents, that could have made sense. However, this game takes place after Super Metroid, so Samus has defeated Ridley no less than 4 times, and she was totally fine doing it. Some fans have defended the scene by citing that she first experienced PTSD symptoms in a Japanese-only manga, but that same manga also shows her triumphing over that disorder, so that doesn't work either. Number 3, the opening concert, Final Fantasy X-2.
It's showtime, girls.
How this garish RPG sequel can exist in the same universe as its somber predecessor Final Fantasy X both bemuses and angers fans of the hugely successful series. The dark tones are replaced with girls dressing up in glitzy costumes and dancing enthusiastically to similarly upbeat pop tunes. The game begins with Yuna performing one of her hits, a cinematic that sets up the ostentatious tone for this game and began the release of a number of titles that many felt were increasingly disrespectful to the soul of the series. Number 2, That Kiss, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic, come back. To me. To us.
Ever since the Hedgehog's move to 3 dimensions, he has been suffering a constant identity crisis. He has turned into a werehog, ripped off Mario Kart, and even skated at the Winter Olympics. Of all his awful incarnations, though, the portrayal in a realistic world is by far the worst.
I'm Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Not the irritating hedgehog again!
Human characters are introduced in a game that's riddled with technical issues, but one lady in particular, Elise, is by far the most controversial. She inexplicably falls in love with Sonic and, to bring him back to life, plants a big old kiss on the hedgehog's spiny head. I think we need to say no more. Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Hey, you're just a ride-along, man. So don't get all Hong Kong style in there.
I am a method actor. If I'm gonna play a saint with any degree of emotional truth, I gotta make it real.
Number 1, Punching the Boulder, Resident Evil 5. As we all know by now, the early games in this series defined the survival horror genre, as the lack of ammo and limited movement created a genuine sense of desperation. The series has since wholeheartedly embraced action-driven gameplay in a universe where it is possible to punch a boulder out of your way. In a moment ripped straight out of a cheesy action B-movie, Chris Redfield lays down a series of uppercuts on a giant rock in order to make a path for Sheva. Have you ever tried pushing a car out of the mud or snow? Do you think that punching it might have helped? Okay, so let's make it official. Since Jump the Shark is a TV saying, any moment in a video game where the story veers off past the point of no return, it will henceforth be known as Punching the Boulder.
Punch! I hate action sequences! A-X-A-X-A-X-A-Y!
Do you agree with our list? Which terrible moment signaled the decline of your favorite franchise?
You think you're this good, huh? Let's see about that.
For more top 10s that don't punch above their weight published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Well, there you have it. Decisiveness is a virtue.